Hello and welcome at CCC Talk, Czech Contemporary Circus Talk, which takes part of the Czech Contemporary Circus Showcase, organized by Cirkeon Center for Contemporary Circus in cooperation with Letní Letná Festival. The showcase presents 20 interesting circus projects, and today you will have the chance to meet their representatives. The meeting will be 60 minutes long, divided into 3 themed blocks, and you are very welcome as the audience to send us your questions and comments via chat. My name is Veronika Štefanová, and I will be very happy to moderate this discussion. And we start right now with the first block called When the Street Meets Circus. Let me introduce the speakers. It's Jonathan Vnouček, representing Johnny and Jenny Project, Aleš Hrdlička from Balancelot, Daniel Komarov, representing Cirkla Putika, Wojciech Štulc from Munsterville, then Michaela Hradecká representing Blackout Paradox, and also Brothers in Trick, Bratři v triku, Adam Jarchovský and Václav Jelínek. Last but not least, Petr Horníček from Losers Cirque Company. Welcome, thank you for joining us. And the first question is for all of you. Speaking of outdoor space, because this is the topic of this first 20 minutes long meeting, what does the public space offer to you in terms of dramaturgy? What kind of situations, topics, etc., etc.? How about Brothers in Tricks, who are very used to perform on the streets? Adam Jarchovský and Václav Jelínek.
What to say about it, Adam? Adam.
I don't know, Vašek. We are used to do street circus shows for more than 10 years now, and we like it because it's very unpredictable. Yes. And that's the challenge we like to take.
And each space offers something different, and each audience also gives something different, and we like to use this kind of energy and to share it and do it every time a bit different than before.
Mm-hmm. How about Cirkla Putika? What kind of challenges or inspiration are you looking for in the public space? Daniel.
For us, it was for the first time when we did like a special outdoor show. So there was, I think, many challenges because we are quite used to play in theaters or like in indoors. So I can see many things. As Guy said, the space, it's maybe the biggest. How to say, not challenge, but it can give to the show like totally new feeling every single place.
Mm-hmm.
This is for me something what can work for me in the show.
Mm-hmm. I would like to ask Wojciech Štulc, the street and the public space, is it something where you feel comfortable to perform?
Yes, actually we do. And as others said, every space gives you an extra kick to the show, gives extra mood, whether it's industrial, historical, or natural, or whatever. And we try to always take it into the show and what it offers and somehow implement it as a background or as a part of the show itself as well.
Mm-hmm. Míša Hradecká, do you create the shows that or you are able to perform everywhere, or do you search for specific public spaces like squares or mostly parks, streets, or nature?
Of course, the easiest way for us is to perform outside because most of the time we are working with the fire. So it's really easier to be outside. But for us, it's always a challenge to move it in like indoor and create it like this.
Okay, speaking of fire, I'm interested, how do you all involve the public or the audience, the spectators, into your performances? What kind of relationship you prefer to have with the audience? So speaking of fire, I can imagine the distance between the audience and the performers. So how about Aleš Hrdlička? You are a juggler, performer, you perform duo with your colleague, Hanna. So how about you and audience and the relationship you prefer or search for?
I would say that most of the times in other creations, we are really trying to break this barrier between the audience and us as performers. However, now we are in the times of Corona. So when we were creating this particular street show, we really had to kind of keep in mind that we want to be able to perform it kind of already before all the restrictions are down. So yeah, for now we need to keep the distance, but we are trying to at least emerge from the audience in the beginning of the show. So at least be part of it a bit, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would like to ask Petr Horníček, because he's here representing Losers Cirque Company, quite a big company focused on acrobatics, couple acrobatics. Here you are representing Collapse Project. You are able to present on the street. So what does the street bring new into this project or into your creative work as Losers Cirque Company?
So far, we didn't have the opportunity to create a project directly for the street yet. We changed the Collapse because we did for indoor, and we a little bit changed the space for acrobats and for audience. We sometimes go to the audience and touch them, and yeah, it's very different because yeah, for example, last year we was played our project through the air on the roof of the house, and it was really inspiring for us. Yeah, and yeah, it's new way for us.
Mm-hmm. You could fly higher.
yeah.
One of the opportunity.
It was like heaven, yes. Yeah, because the audience couldn't see anything else but only the sky.
Perfect. Jonathan, it reminds me that I would like to ask other questions mostly focused on the objects being used into the performances. And Jonathan Vnouček is using very interesting kind of objects in his performance, Johnny and Jenny. But I would like to talk more generally about objects being used in the street performances, because they are not only props, but part of the scenography. So could you tell me more, Jonathan, about the way you think about the scenography, set design in the public space?
Okay, so in my project, my scenography is actually only just these two objects. So it's really beautiful and you can use them everywhere. And
can we say what it is? Can we say what it is?
It's plastic transportable toilets. So I laugh about them that usual audience thinks that it's just the part of the festival or something like that, but in actuality it's the show. So I love the way how it goes to the space and disappears in a way, but also if you touch it and change the positions and move with it, it creates something different. So it's a different thing in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Question for all of you: when you think about the public space performances, street performances, does the object come first or does it come later? When you go in the space, you feel like, oh, well, I wanted to use, I don't know, maybe trampoline, maybe this piece of wood, but suddenly I decided to use stones and trees and branches, for instance.
Like maybe for us, it was object first, obviously, because the main object is actually the double hamster wheel, which was first created as an art installation, interactive for people, which still is like basically end of the show. The public audience, the audience is let in to try and walk like a hamster in the wheel. And then we discovered that it has some magical acrobatic properties when it's used by the parts itself by themselves, and it can be put together during the show. So it was basically, yeah, object first.
Object first. Has it always been thought for outdoor performance, or did it give you different inspiration when you put it outside and you realize, wow, it gives us so much inspiration?
Yeah, since the Menster wheel carries some, I don't know, 5 meters fire puffers, it was meant for the outside right away.
Mm-hmm. How about Cirkla Putika and set design? When you are performing outside, you have to think differently about it. It's different playing in the black box and playing outside. How did it change your perspective of using the stage set design?
I think it comes from our disciplines, and it gave us more freedom, especially in our like most powerful disciplines, which are teeterboard and trampoline. That now there is no limit. It could be really like flying in the air, and especially for our new discipline, which is tower teeterboard. It's, I think, like around 8 meters high. So we came from the disciplines, and Pavla Kamenová as a scenographer, as a designer, she created just a really nice mix of colors, and I think she changed the perspective of how I can see the special circus equipment as a nice object on a stage. And the biggest thing on a stage is a giant pink elephant, which have only 3 legs, and it's really important for aerialist, because it's the only one hanging point, because we don't want to lose as well another level, which is sometimes really hard on the street to find it. And for me, we can play everywhere on a free space, but for me it could be always the feeling when I see the huge red pink elephant. It's like, wow, it's circus in the town, and this is it.
Great. Brothers in Trick, Bratři v triku, you are the great representatives of speaking of objects and props being used in the performance. Could you name some of them you've ever used in your performances? It seems like there is no object you have never used, that you have already used. That's all the objects possible. So could you name some of them?
That's true. That's true, but I think our performance is not that based on the objects. We follow some rules of street performances, so we look at this genre as a specific art form, and we're trying to find some rules of it. So our main rule is a contrast. We try to work with the contrast on the street. So for instance, our show which we present here is about skiing, which is big contrast on a summer square, or in summer in general. And also we try to be big, so to be big, to be in contrast, and to be as interactive as possible. So we try to be part of the space. For example, our show Skiing Odyssey, the part of it is a ski rental. We borrow the skis to the audience, so it's like big happening on the skis. So it makes a huge contrast at first, and then the audience is ours. So we build the relationship through the contrast and interaction, and then we do crazy thing on the skis.
Very well said.
Thank you, both of you. Speaking of material objects, I would like to ask Misha Hradecka, because they are using primarily very interesting material, which is fire. How limiting and how liberating it is. So those two contrasts, using fire as a material, as an inspirational material for your company. So how limiting could it be for you in a, let's say, in context of creation?
One limit is really here, and it's how close you can be to the audience. In our case, we are trying to close as is possible, but of course, the safety first. And we are trying where the limits for our group with the fire are. So that's the reason why you can see absolutely new burning objects in our shows, burning costumes and other props or some decorative stuff. With which we are working at trying to develop and move our group a little bit forward.
Mm-hmm. So it means that, let's say, the scientific research is also part of your creation based on physics and chemistry. That's very interesting. Aleš, I would like to ask mostly about the physical material that is inspiring for your performances or for your creational work.
I would say that for us, the physical material comes really across the object material that we are using, because we are both used to using object. Me as a juggler and magician, I'm all about objects, and Hannah is one of the few handstanders that is focused on objects as well. So it's actually a pleasure to be combining our specializations. And yeah, the physical material, most of the time we get inspired by the traditional circuses as well, but then we just try to take it with a fresh twist and present it in a new way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Petr Horníček and Losers Czech Company, would you say that the physical material stays always at the beginning of the creation, or is it mostly the topic, the story, board, the situation? How do you create in Losers Czech Company?
It depends on the topic of the project. Yeah, we love dance and hand-to-hand acrobatics and group acrobatics. And in the beginning, we talk about the possibilities how to explain by these acrobatics. And we love scenography, but in a new project which we are preparing now. We didn't use anything because it will be a simple project because it's time now. But in the past we created a first project called Walls and Handbags, and we used 9 benches and we use like walls or paths or trees or stages. And as real benches, and this our way. Sometimes we need some scenography. Sometimes we discuss about the movements and what's the first, scenography or the acrobacy.
Mm-hmm. We are talking about the inspiration, about the objects, physical material. We talked about the audience, and that will be my last question so far because we don't have the questions from the audience yet. But my last question is for all of you. Speaking of public space, the streets, parks, squares, we are talking about a, let's say, wide audience. So do you create for all of the age, for all kind of audience, or do you prefer specific audience for your performances, or you create really for specific audience? For who do you create?
So in our case, I think that we have no limits in age. Maybe the small limit is that usually we need some the night or some darkness around us, and it limits the babies and the smallest children because usually they are in this time in a bed.
How about the others?
Our show is for everyone.
Thank you. How about the others? Brothers in trick?
I think that's the point on the street, you know, because you never know who will come. So you need to make show for everyone, because otherwise you can be surprised.
Okay, so when you think about everyone, you count on kids and adults. So what is more, I wouldn't say frightening, but what is the most dangerous group of audience? Dangerous in a way like thinking of being correct, not being, you know what I mean.
I think other professionals.
You are the professional, so you know what you do, even on the streets.
The professionals are the worst audience from my experience.
Okay, in other cases, it works.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a really like a tricky situation with the audience on the streets?
Yes, of course. For example, my own experience when my costume doesn't work and disappeared in the middle of the show when I has fire in both of my hands and couldn't help to myself. So my skirt told me bye-bye and fell down, for example, but it's just small problems.
How about the others?
I think the heavy rain makes special connection.
Okay.
Especially when you're playing with fire.
Exactly. But it's still possible.
Okay. Any other reaction? And that will be the last. I will have to say goodbye. No last words. So thank you very much, all of you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your comments. And I'll be happy to see you later and live on the streets while you'll be performing. Thank you very much. See you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
For having us.
Bye.
Goodbye. And now it's time for second group. And the title of this discussion, another 20 minutes long discussion, will be Circus in Between the Walls. So it means we are going to talk about, or we are going to present the artists that are creating performances and projects for the theaters, circus venues, chapitels. And it's my pleasure to welcome and introduce Vít Nesnal and Ethan Law representing Cirque Putica. Hello. Again, Petr Horníček from Losers Cirque Company, now representing the project Audition. I'm very happy to introduce you Filip Zahradnický, representing Filip Zahradnický's projects. Also Alžběta Tichá, representing the project Stav. We are waiting for Martina Hajdela-Lacová, representing Circus Tety. There she is. Hello, Martina. And also Roman Horák, representing the company Skvadra Sua. And also last but not least, Ondřej Holba, representing the project And Who is Useless Now and Ondřej Holba's projects. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. At the beginning, I would like to ask the question, which is for all of you. And I'm interested, when you are about to create a project, how do you start? Do you always start with the same thing, like the topic, the storyboard, the physical material, the will to do some kind of artistic research? So what is at the beginning? How does the creation start in your case? For example, Cirque Putica.
Yeah, well, I think me and Vitek work really differently. So I'll start. For me, I always check first, what is the limitations? Like how far can we go? That I have lots of dream projects. So first I want to know how extreme we can be. What is the budget? What is the rehearsal times? How far can I take it? And when I have those restrictions, then I can play inside those restrictions. And I'm really not worried about anything until I know that. Because and then once I know this, then I can start to see how far we can push it inside of these restrictions. I think for me, I'm pretty chaotic, that I'm kind of a mess in my head. So I really need to know where the lines are. And after, then I can start to go crazy inside of that. This is like step one for me.
Okay, so Ethan Law likes the borders, likes the lines. And how about Vít Nesnal? You are working now on one project called Runners. So how do you like to work, Vítek?
Yeah, for me, the most important thing at the beginning is to find the connection between the scenography and the theme. So I'm looking for the scenography which is able to explain the theme I want to talk about, and to find a good connection between these two parts of a show. So that's the most important thing. And also in Runner's show, we are now making and preparing, we are in the middle of of rehearsals, it's also the most important thing, like was the most important thing at the beginning.
Now we heard some words from the directors of new project. Martina Hajdela-Lacová is currently working with Circustety. I know Martina mostly from the dance field or physical theater field. Now you are into the contemporary circus field, let's say. How does it feel for you, this little change? And now you are working with a huge women team. So did it change the perspective of the creation?
Yes, very much. In this particular case, it's a very different process for my side, because Circustety came with a topic. They also collected people, members of the team. They knew how to process the project. So I became a Pippin Jane of the whole process. And they also built the way how to create a show. So, and I needed to say yes, and it's very interesting to be in this position. So there were 3 labs already with 3 different artists, like Markéta Vacovská, then Cecil da Costa, Eliška Brtnická, and we are going to process the last part, which will be in May and June. So it's very different. Usually I go from my side, from myself. I ask myself what I want to do, what I desire for, and then I go on. This time it's very different.
Sorry, yes, you're working with a group of women, but Alžběta Tichá and Filip Zahradnický, they're representing their solo projects. So it's, I guess, different way of work, different way of creational process. So could you briefly say how you process your first ideas and visions of new projects? How you like to work alone, probably? Filip or Bětka?
So I will start. Cool. For me, this project it was very like a personal thing. I really wanted to try for many years. So I don't even know when I actually started to work on this project. But for me, I sort of wanted to challenge myself with the project. And one of the challenges where I told myself I want to spend a lot of time on the show, which is very unusual for my work because most of the projects I did were very spontaneous. So for me, it was a nice experience with like working with lot of time. And of course, coronavirus really made the time even longer. But I always start as a juggler. I always start from the object and from juggling techniques, which I feel like they just have so much potential for like bringing the technique for to create something, some story or some theme. And I really like to use this way of like finding the theme and the overall concept.
Perfect. Alžběta Tichá is the aerialist on the rope. So Alžběta, why did you decide to do solo? We can't hear you, Alžběta, sorry. Maybe take off the earphones from the computer.
Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Ah, perfect. Okay. Sorry about this. This performance is supposed to be my graduation act, so it's supposed to be shorter. But then, because of coronavirus, I decided to work on this more and use the time for myself. So actually, it was kind of a natural way how I started to do my solo project. And because I had a whole year kind of suddenly from the graduation act is now 18 minutes performance. So it's also, I just wanted to, after school, I just wanted to try how it is work just with myself and not with someone from a school or in the group, so that I can find actually who I am and what I want and what is my personal taste on the stage.
And did you find out?
Yeah, I think I think yes, but it was interesting. It was interesting path, I have to say, because I had to deal with myself, and it's totally different than if you have another person that you can communicate with about the project. So this was challenging for me.
Okay, thank you. This was about a solo project and working solo on the performance. Roman Horák is representing Squadra Sua, and maybe I would like to ask you, because Squadra Sua is being mostly presented as a clowns or group of clowns. So would you still say that you are a group of clowns? That the grotesque and clownery is the main genre you like to present or create, the way you create?
Yes, hello to everybody. Nice to hear you and nice to see you. Yes, I would definitely say that we are still a group of clowns, and that the grotesque, the gags, and the laughter is still the thing that we want to bring to the people, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And what does Ondřej Holba like to bring to the audience in his own creations? I know you mostly as a director, more than performer, but you were also the performer. So as a director, what kind of topics do you search for, or where do you go to search for the topics for the performances?
Hello. Mostly I choose topics which somehow are deeply connected with our lives, like which is specific for this project because it's about robots, and the main topic was relationship with technology, which we represented by real relationship with robots. And I mostly search for three kind of inspiration: visual, fine arts, music, and literature. And in this case, I chose, I just did some research, and then I chose like intuitively some kind of, I don't know, in this case, Marvin Minsky and his book Emotional Machine, which is about artificial emotions, the Bach, Joseph Sebastian Bach fugues, because I was interested in it, and M.C. Escher, I think, the drawings by M.C. Escher. And then I realized by coincidence that it's really connected so much in the book Gödel, Escher, Bach, and then, yeah, it was easy from there. And,
you like to read a lot?
Not so much, but yeah, it's good inspiration, because
yes, you can find the inspiration in books.
Yeah, there's always somebody who thought about your topic much more than you, so it's good to start there.
Question for you, because you're all creating performances for theaters, venues, circus chapiters. Do you write scripts? Do you write scenarios? Yes. Anyone can answer. Yes?
Sure.
Yes.
I can
yes, Ethan, go on.
Say quickly that there's two kinds of projects that I do. One is like more open-ended, where we really spend the time to make a more physical research, to make a deeper creative process. That's like very interesting. It's a longer process. Or there's more like panic projects that are like very fast. You make them in a few days. It's more like a very, like, you just kind of spit it out. And lately I started with these projects to write very detailed scripts. And it's been like really interesting, and it's working very well for me. It's like a new experience. And now I really start to write hyper detailed scripts. And with this, that allows me to make something much more complicated very fast and finish it before the end of the rehearsal. And then because of that, there's the opportunity to then have the time to add details, to be more creative, to play inside that. And that's kind of lately the way that I'm working with very detailed scripts, yeah.
Thank you very much. Anybody else would like to add something to this topic? Raise your hand. Roman?
Yes. Yes, I wanted to say we write scripts, but the script is basically mostly like an initial idea. So it is a literature, it's a more or less a literature text. And this text or this script changes during the process. So the process is influencing actually our script. But basically there needs to be an idea. And just to come back to your question before, you said actually if we still think to be clowns, because our last show is kind of, let's say, metaphysically defined a little bit. It's called A Cross. So it was the same process. We were asking ourselves, what are we doing actually in this life? So the basic idea was we were asking ourselves the questions, what is let's say the core of all this? We go from left to right and then we go back. What was the sense of all this? So basically, so we have actually some metaphysical questions inside of that, but we still want to bring the people, you know, to have a kind of distance and laugh about that. We want to, you know, stay in our seats, keeping ourselves with, you know, the hands on our stomach, laughing. This is what is our goal.
Very nice. Thank you for that, bringing us into this as the audience. How do you choose, or where do you go to find the artist you like to cooperate with on the projects? Or how do you choose or pick the team, creative team? So this is mostly a question for Losers Cirque Company, Cirque Laputika, Ondřej Holba as well. So how do you choose the colleagues for the projects? In context of Czech field or abroad, scenographers, set designers, light designers, what kind of people do you search for, kind of personalities?
Like for the runners show, it's based on dancers and circus artists. And we've got 2 really good circus artists and 3 dancers. And it's kind of mix of Czech artists and artists from foreign countries. So it's, yeah, for me, the most important thing as I'm doing, which is called like device theater or something like that, the most important thing is to have a strong personalities or like people with a strong life story that I can use for the show and talk about their life stories also in a show. So yeah, that's more the question how I'm choosing these people.
How about Losers Cirque Company, Petr Horníček, as a director? What kind of team do you prefer to have? What kind of personalities you prefer to have in your team?
I am trying to find a team for the project that will inspire each other. For me, it's a teamwork. And for the new project, I approached a choreographer I haven't worked with yet. I think we inspire each other, and the motivation also passes on the acrobats who enjoy the work. Yeah, that's important for me.
Speaking of contemporary circus, the body is a very important part of it. What kind of role plays the body, physicality, in the performances that you create? Raise your hand if you would like to answer. I will name you. Okay, Philip?
Yes, the body, like, I feel like the body is always interesting for a juggler because there is many different types of jugglers and object manipulators. And I feel like I really like this connection between the body and the object. It's some sort of like a duet. And if there is only like one of each, it's not a full show, it feels like, or it's not complete. So for me, I'm really trying to get juggling very physical and try to like find a balance between the visuality of the body and visuality of the objects I'm juggling with or manipulating with. So yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'm interested in other answers. Petr Horníček, Ethan Law, because you are all artists, experienced artists. Ethan?
Can you just repeat the question?
Yeah. What role plays the body, the physicality in the performances you like to create?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's very important also with theme. My main perspective when I make a piece, it's what can we, I think every kind of performance art has its strengths and weaknesses. And I really believe circus can say some things better than dance or theater. And that the way we use our bodies, it's it's totally different, and how we can play to the strengths of circus versus other modes of performance. And I think it's really like this virtuosity of the body. And I think it really, okay, to be concise, sorry, the circus body, it's like unique. It's very hard to replace a circus artist because they really train to be like unique or exceptional. And in dance and theater, it's very easy to replace somebody. And I think that this is like, for me, what it boils down to, that I'm really looking for this exceptionalism. And I want to highlight that. And I want to really use that to say something different that a dancer or an actor cannot say.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what I look for.
Thank you very much. Ondřej, Pětka, Martina, would you like to add something to this topic? I'm curious.
No, in our
yes,
case,
Pětka. Sorry, Pětka.
I just want to say that for me, the body is important, that also the audience has a body, so they can relate or try to relate how I feel on the stage. And then I like to discuss with them what they see, and if they ask me how I feel, so what they think how it is. So I like that they have a body, I have a body, and then there is a certain connection with the audience. So yeah.
Very interesting. Ondřej, now you can answer.
Just that in our project, we find this approach to the body a bit differently, because it's really small stage, audience is close, and there is a Floran, who is the actor with robots. So there is some kind of play with a scale, because Floran is huge in front of robots, which are super small, and audience, and also the body used. We try to find what would artificial intelligence do with the human body if she could.
Mm-hmm. Different approach to the physicality. And Martina, as I mentioned, you come from the dance field, and now you're approaching the circus type of moving, circus type of physicality. Did you learn something new for you during the process, the cooperation with Circus Tety, or is it the same way of work that you were used to before?
Well, until now, I think it's very similar to what I do or how I research when I go to studio. Of course, each girl is stronger or at home in a very specific discipline, and this is very far from me, because I am working only with my body. I don't need any object. I don't need any specific conditions. Like I can go whenever and move. And I think, we all love to move. So that's the connection.
Yes, and that's very nice ending of this discussion. We like to move. I hope you like to move and keep on going with your projects. Thank you very much for joining this discussion, joining this panel. I wish you all the best and see you later live in the theaters and chapitels. Take care. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
And now we are approaching the third panel, the third themed block, which is focused on artistic research as a starting point for circus. And I'm very happy to introduce you and other speakers and other artists and representatives of Czech contemporary circus scene, which is Lukas Blaha, hello, representing Project Lavabo, Viktor Černický, representing Viktor Černický's Project Pli, also Morgan Widmer, representing the company Pied Perché, and also Eliška Brtnická, representing two projects made by Circus Main, Hangout and Fish Eye, and also Karolina Křížková, representing the company Holektiv. Hello, thank you for joining us. And now the question is, or mostly, what I find that connects you all is that you like to step out of the traditional theater spaces and you like to search for primarily non-theatrical spaces. Why is that? Are you bored by the theaters, by the black boxes? Why do you step outside? What do you search for in the different spaces? For example, Eliška.
I think it's different perspective at first point, but for me the beginning of this is the discipline itself, because I'm a realist anthropist and I was searching to find some other point of view to look the discipline, the movement, the aerial movement. And so, for example, I started with hanging aerial props in between the staircases that the people can look from a very strange angle and stuff like this. So for me, it's maybe point of view and perspective, but also that actually you can use this kind of scenography, this like natural scenography, which is great by itself and inspirative, and you can also work with the atmosphere of the place and maybe the third thing would be to get to some other audiences that you wouldn't get in theaters, because sometimes I feel that if I perform in a theater, there are always the same people coming, and I mean, we are in this bubble and we cannot influence more to get some other people.
Thank you. How about the others? Do you step out of the theaters and black boxes to search for new topics, for the inspiration, or for something else? Yes,
I think we go out. You can listen to me? It's
yes.
Okay. I think we go out to break the borders of what we and open the possibilities. And for us, it's now really important to play with the place we are and really use it as it is and not try to transform it to be like we want it to be, to do what we want to do. So it's really more inspiration to go away, and we always have a structure and some stuff we want, but after we have really to develop it in the space.
I don't want to generalize. Thank you, Morgan. I don't want to generalize, but we can call some of your works site-specific. So what places do you find specific, interesting, fascinating, inspiring for your creative work? Lucas.
Thank you. Hello. So for our project, we chose to first showcase the project in the location of an abandoned swimming pool, which was basically hand in hand with the original theme of cleansing, of washing oneself. And we're still searching for very similar places which would go kind of hand in hand with this type of theme. But we believe that any place kind of brings more unique possibilities, and especially it sort of takes the comfort sort of out of audience members. When they normally go to a theater and they sit down, they kind of know what to expect. And I believe that every place, or the very act of coming to a specific place, means that the audience gains more freedom, but also more responsibility sometimes in the way they view and the way they see the piece.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Karolina, what kind of non-theatrical spaces do you prefer for creative work?
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I will start that why we decided to go outside of the theater was that we would like to step out of our borders and create something new. And we wanted to create a complex visual experience for the audience. And then we found a topic about the crows, and we decided to use the live music. We were looking for sacral spaces, which goes hand in hand with the topic, and also because of the acoustic of the space. But basically, we don't want to stick on one place, but it's important, the strong atmosphere of the space, so it can be everywhere where the atmosphere is suitable for the topic. I think it could also be outside. It can be in the exterior, but it's just about the atmosphere of the specific space, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Victor, it's a different case with you. If we are focused, or if we focus on your project, but I would like to talk more about the way you work, you create. It's not only about specific space, but also about specific object. that can create a specific space. So how about you, the relationship between you, the object, and the space? Could you briefly describe how you think about these three aspects of your creation?
Yeah, this is a great question. Thank you, Veronika, and hello everyone. I'm really happy to be here with you. Well, I think you know, I use a lot of chairs on stage. It's a solo for one performer and 22 chairs, and I think the architecture is really strongly written into the piece, and so it creates its own space immediately. And it's not that we hate theater or we don't perform in the theater. This piece is quite, you know, intimate, and we premiered it in indoor, and now we perform. Yeah, maybe half of the performances is still indoor in the theater. But what we do is this movement kind of into finding the specificity of the theater space. So wherever we come, we strip down the curtains, we just clear the space out of all other chairs than the chairs that belong to the piece. We clear out all the, you know, the truss system, all the sound system, everything goes out, so that when people enter the theater building, they can also have the experience of the specific architecture of the theater. That it's not a black box, it's not, you know, it's not any kind of space, like each space has its specificity. And then, yeah, and then we perform outdoor. And I like this dialogue, you know, between the piece that we have and the environment where we are placed. And this is a really big range of spaces. We performed between the blocks of flats, you know, between people who have never seen contemporary dance or circus. And we also perform in the presidential gardens, you know, so the range is really big, and we always look forward, and we love to discuss with the festival or with the venue, where is the best space for us to come and to kind of enter the dialogue.
Very interesting. I mentioned artistic research at the beginning of this themed block. Now we were talking about the space, about site-specific, etc. But I would like to ask you more about your artistic research, and especially about the physicality, the physical element that is incorporated in your performances, but because especially the circus disciplines you are working on, you are transforming, you are thinking of, you are, let's say, deconstruct and reconstruct. So could you briefly tell me how you think, how you do your research about the physical part of your performances, how you think about the disciplines you use or the movements you use? Anyone can start, raise your hand. What is circus, or circus for you in your creative work? We don't have to talk what is circus and what is not, mostly in your work.
So I will start. I would say that every project is totally different, and we were used to start with the topic first. But here it was our first project when we started with the idea to go outside of the theater and use the different space and use some object which will give us the new movement, material, and everything. So we decided to go outside to ask the two product designers who like create the object, the specific object for our movement, and we gave them just some let's say task to like connect the nature and the street. So they create some object which like connect the street like a street lamp and the nature like a bird nest, and gave us the object. And then we start the movement research on it, and it gave us the limitations, but also the new material. And I think that we, through the object, we create kind of new technique, let's say, just through the object, if it's okay.
Yes, perfect. Eliška, how about you and your research based on physical movements, circus disciplines in your work?
Well, I think I always start with the discipline itself. So I am just always searching for different forms of trapeze or ropes, or the question is actually the movement and the physicality, and what is the influence between these two, between the body and the apparatus. Because if the apparatus is a bit reformed, let's say, it also influences the movement. And then again, I'm going back to my point of view theme, and then the picture, what audience gets. So I think for me, the beginning is always the apparatus influencing the movement and the physicality.
Mm-hmm.
This is about the beginning. I don't know if I should continue, but
makes sense. How about the question of virtuosity in the physical movement? How important it is for you, Lucas or Morgan or Victor? Yes, Lucas raised his hand first, then Morgan.
I find that virtuosity is always something very, very important in circus, but it's something that where somehow in our process we're trying to deconstruct, so not to make things only showy and showing that the discipline level is very high, but like taking the virtuosity and making sure that the way we perform the discipline and the way we play with the objects goes hand in hand with the theme. So maybe it's a bit like the opposite way that Eliška was kind of explaining how she starts with the discipline. We try to start a lot with the theme and finding how we can embody using the discipline what is important for us to showcase. And there is probably a certain virtuosity in that, but it doesn't necessarily have to be virtuistic. I'm not sure if that's the correct word, but it doesn't necessarily have to be virtuosity in a discipline sort of sense. More in the way how we decide to use the discipline to embody what we're trying to say.
Mm-hmm, perfect. Morgan, you would like to add something to this topic?
Yes, because with Stephanie, we do rope for many years, and it's really a complicated discipline that you need hanging points, a special high and something. So really now with this kind of project, we try to really find new way to use the rope. So maybe we use it like one of us is the hanging point, and we go up, and someone can hang on the rope, and we really manage to. It's not destruct the discipline because we use our technical skills that we did before, but yeah, maybe it's a bit another virtuosity to do it like we do now, because it's not at the point that it has to be. So I don't know if it's clear, but it's like, wow, you can do rope in this area now. Wow, it's this virtuosity more than a big trick. And maybe it's this.
Thank you. Victor, how about you and the question of virtuosity? Is it more in a formal way or more in the content, or both?
Well, this is an intriguing question for me because I don't have a circus background in the terms that I would be, I would master any of the circus disciplines. But I believe that there is a connection in circus between the body and the object. Mm-hmm. And because I don't have any, stable or known discipline background, I kind of create my own approach to the objects, and I love to work with them. They're great partners for me. Mm-hmm. So in terms of play, we can maybe talk about a certain level of virtuosity if virtuosity means that you know the objects quite well and you are good partners to each other and you can relate to each other. In that case, we can talk about this kind of virtuosity. But also I think I agree with what Lucas said, that virtuosity and like this topic of virtuosity, it can bring you to only showing the skills, and I don't know, for me, this is not something that I'm looking for. For me, I'm more looking for the connection and the communication about something that I went through in the process, and that it's something that can speak to people who come to see the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And my last question, now you kind of started it. it is about the audience and the relationship with the audience and the way you perceive the audience. Do you perceive the audience only as spectators or as an integral part of the performance? Yeah, Lucas?
As I mentioned before, with the form that we're using, giving the audience the freedom, but also responsibility, we think it's very important because we invite audience members during the show that they can change their own location whenever they want to. So basically that means that they are in charge of what point of view they want to see the show from. And I think that this is interesting to see in different cultural backgrounds because different audiences react differently to this. There are some people who feel comfortable just sitting down and staying in one space for the rest of the show. And because of this, I feel that the audience is like an integral part of the performance. They're not only spectators, but due to the ritualistic elements that we have in Lavabo, they become almost part of the ritual itself. They're very, very important for us in our work.
Yes, your performances, all of you, could be really demanding on the audience. So how would you describe the role of the audience in your kind of project? Eliška, Viktor, Karolina, Morgan. Yeah, Morgan?
For us, this performance Okno is also more a sensorial experience for the audience that during the performance, they will move from some space to another. And also we have a part that we call the game. And we really ask questions to them and they have to move. And if the answer is yes or no, they have to move. So it's really, we are talking each other. It's not just look at me and it's okay. And it's also the idea of the performance. It's that audience is watching, but sometimes they are watched by the actors. So it's to try to disturb the position of the audience during all the performance.
Mm-hmm. Karolina, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, okay. I would like to just say that we were inspired by crows in this case, because they are sometimes watching us from really close to us, even we don't know about it. And sometimes they are really far away from us and we don't also know about it. So we were inspired by that and we decided that the people can watch us from distance or from really close to us. They can walk around, they can sit, they can stand, they can be focused just on a really small piece of, I don't know, the string of the cello of our musician, or watch the piece as a whole. But we would like to give them the freedom of the choice. But unfortunately, we didn't have the opportunity to try it live until now, but I hope it will work like that.
Hope for you. Hope for you as well. Eliška, Viktor, you have last chance to add something to the audience topic. Viktor, would love to.
Yeah, well, when I'm thinking of the audience, I'm also thinking of myself, you know. When I enter the theater, I want to feel that I'm an important part of the event. If I don't feel that I matter, then I don't feel any connection to the piece and I don't know why I'm part of this. So when I made Plea, I was also trying to set the communication with the audience very transparently, you know, to make sure that they feel welcome and to make sure that we can, you know, play together, we can play with each other's expectations, even without, you know, direct approach to the spectators. I actually only look once at the audience members during the whole piece, and the rest of the time I do what I do. But in terms of dramaturgy, we play very strongly with the expectations. You know, we want people to have kind of their own experience, and so sometimes, you know, people come into the theater and they laugh from the first moment until the last moment, and they're very open and casual, and it's a chemistry that they created together. And sometimes they're just very serious and they watch the piece as, you know, they see it as a very serious contemporary dance or circus performance, and they clap at the end and release the energy. So yeah, I think we are trying to really think of the audience, because they're 50% of the whole piece.
Okay. Eliška?
I think audience is essential. I mean, because this is live arts, so if audience is not there or it's not somehow integrated in it, it doesn't make sense. And from me, when I have the theme, when I find it, then I'm trying to have it still opened, that like everybody can find his own point, his own piece of something that can, like the person can identify with it somehow. And like my kind of aim of it is that the person from the audience find out something about himself, something new. And for me, it's always challenge in the thing that I'm trying to present something which is maybe not, maybe it looks a bit strange. And I'm actually trying to make people think about it and maybe make them think it can be normal.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Look forward to be part of your performance again, hopefully soon. Thank you very much for joining this discussion. I wish you all the best and good luck, and hope you can perform soon live and in front of the spectators. So thank you for this discussion. See you later. And I would like to thank the audience as well. And I would like to announce that who is interested could join and meet the artist on Thursday, 29th of April in 2 blocks from 10 to 12 a.m. and then from 2 to 4 p.m. You are all very welcome, and all the information you can find on the webpage of Czech Contemporary Circus Showcase, and you will also receive the newsletter and email with the information. Thank you very much. Thank you, artists and representatives of the Czech Contemporary Circus scene. See you soon. Take care, good luck, and enjoy your creative work. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you very much.